Shahina Mukadam is also now joining us. Shahina, first a reaction on TVS. Margin miss, that was the key trigger for investors?
Yeah, I think the margins are below what we expected, considering that lower raw material prices should have benefited them, which they didn't. At the same time, I do believe that if one looks at a medium 1 year to 2 year perspective, I think the volume growth is pretty healthy, and also new product launches from the BMW tie-up should start kicking in and start contributing to EBITDA going forward. So I would be a buyer at dips in this particular stock. I think if we've seen this price performance over a 1 year period, it's given a tremendous performance, and I think that maybe between a 280 to a 330 type of range, the stock does move. So I wouldn't be surprised with the fall. I would use the dips to buy.
I remember, I think 2 quarters back, TVS reported numbers which kind of fell short. Stocks saw a big correction on the day of the results, and then slowly over the next couple of days, sort of crawled right back. Shahina, what does the market want to do? Let's just address that for a bit. Is the market buoyant, or it's run into a brick wall?
Well, I think the international markets are not really supporting us, and that is where the pressure, in my view, is coming and making the bulls a bit nervous. So to that extent, nobody is really willing to take long positions, and is really waiting to see where the market goes. Because if you see the range, now the range becomes 7,550 and 8,000. So really speaking, we are in the midway between it. We don't really know which ways it goes, but I would say it's a buy on dip market.
Would you say a lot of the risk, I mean, A is valuations here in India, especially the consumer pack, and B, it's global markets. I would say especially the US market, which has been kind of threatening to sell down for a while now. It has not yet done it, but more and more people getting more convinced that maybe, a correction in US around the corner.
Yeah, that is a big risk, you put it very correctly. And in terms of valuations, see, we have very large contributors to the Nifty like Reliance, ICICI Bank, in fact the banking space as a whole, with a few exceptions, which are not really contributing to, which are actually keeping the market subdued. And the rest of, the stocks are really not giving you that momentum, because as you said, FMCG is highly priced. It always has been. But you cannot have a big push, buying coming into the sector and pushing the overall index, supporting the overall index. So unless we see these heavyweights perform, it's very difficult for the market to really, get a good strong base from this level and move upward. So these sectors have to come back and play, and it looks like, a quarter or two down the line. So we may be in a consolidation phase, at bets. I don't think it will move down substantially below the ranges I gave you.
By the way, the TVS management is getting ready to speak. We'll cut to it as soon as we have the audio. But Shahina, do you think a retest of 7,200 is possible?
No, I don't think so. But the market always teaches us.
Yeah, absolutely. So one should be open to the idea, right? As they say, never say no.
Well, I think one should be stock specific and get into good stocks. So even if you do see a correction of 15% in your particular stocks, you can sleep easy, because you know that, right, when the rebound comes, which it will, right, with the economy moving, improving. So it should not be a big deal.
Shahina has been saying that a test of 7,200, Shahina, you said is unlikely, right? You expect the market to be bought on dips, but you're saying upsides are also kind of capped.
Well, I do think that, because if you see on the upside, first we don't have global market support, and two is valuations. So I think these two factors sort of put a cap on the upside, and downside, I think is again capped at about 7,500.
At an aggregate level, it almost seems like the only way you'll make 5% is if you drop 5% first. Is that, I don't know if that is a fair comment to make.
Oh, well, it can go either ways. The market can go either ways.
So yeah, I mean, possible. Yeah. But you aren't expecting a bigger move monsoon related, because that gets thrown around quite a bit. Come rains, rural India will start to do better, especially starting the October quarter, financial 17. Numbers will start to look very, very good. Do you buy that argument, or you think, well, It's all the sectors which will benefit are already showing those kind of prices.
Well, I think the sectors have started reflecting the expectation that monsoons will be very good. But I think the full force of that should hit us once we have the rains hit Bombay. So we'll wait for another month. But at the same time, I think this May has never really been a great month for us for the markets, any which ways. So it's a basically wait and watch market. I think it will be a consolidation. Maybe, you know, at this time, we should look at sectors that for this month that have not really performed, but smaller sectors like say a media where the stocks are doing better, some of the mid-cap pharma where they
What
have
kind
sort
of names? I mean, any ones in particular?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Z, I think Z has
Entertainment or
Z
Z Media?
Entertainment.
Z
Z
Entertainment,
Entertainment. In
okay.
fact, even Z Learn. Yeah. So I think both of those are really doing well. You have TV Today. I have an interest personally also in
Okay.
these, but at the same time, I see these are providing some stability. If you look at telecom, telecom has really disappointed. You know, at the same time, we are seeing some stability back again. Say Idea at about 115, 117, Bharti at about 360. If you see the overall realization, they are improving for these companies. They seem to be stabilizing.
Media, telecom.
Yeah, media and telecom.
Kunal Bothra is with us as well. Kunal, afternoon. Good to have you here. Again, I mean, what's your view? What's going on the index and what levels are important?
Yeah, I think the crucial support is 7,700. We've not broken that per se, Prashant, and I sense that this last 3 or 4 days of continuous selling is probably the fact that we're still in the range. I think 7,700. If you break that, then I sense you could see some major correction happening. I think over the last 3 or 4 days, I think there have been some series of divergences. If you've seen in terms of large cap stocks, Infosys, Reliance, they were supposed to be very strong stocks leading the rally in the last 2 months, but they've seen correction. Even Hindustan Unilever, I think even that stock has corrected significantly in the last 3 or 4 days. So I sense that the markets are trying to balance it out. But I think if it's 7,700 gets taken out, I would believe that you could probably see a correction of at least 200 to 50 points further on Nifty.
On break of 7,700, 200 plus point correction, Kunal, is what you're saying. But then you'd wait for that. You won't jump to do anything now.
Not really, Prashant. I think a lot of stocks in the mid cap and large cap spaces, they've broken swing highs. Their patterns are still quite attractive. They're still trading. Some of them are still trading above the 200 moving averages. And I think 1 day of sell-off, especially when the markets have been recovering the last 2 or 3 days, don't really.
Let's just talk about stocks, Kunal. Which are looking best poised? Which stocks are looking best poised on the long side?
Prashant, I can't hear you. I think the voice is getting echoed.
I'm saying which stocks, you said that many stocks have broken their swing highs, look quite well. I'm saying, what are those names? Which are the stocks to buy for absolute gains, absolute upsides, most absolute upside?
Yeah, I think today we've seen Aurobindo Pharma breaking its swing high and it's now above its 20-day moving average as well. I think it's been above the average, but it's confirmed its swing high. Once again, Voltas was another stock which managed to break a swing high, and probably you've seen a correction intraday. It's now at its low point of the day. In the mid cap scenario, in the large caps we have Idea, which has been doing pretty well. It's maintaining its trajectory at least in the last 2 months. So I sense that a lot of pockets which are still trading about the 20-day moving averages, I think are still on a comfortable zone at this point of time.
Idea, Aurobindo, Voltas. You'd buy these, and also, Kunal, for our viewers, could you describe what do you mean when you say a swing high? What is a swing high?
Yeah, I think the swing high is very clearly, Prashant, when the market or when the stock or when an asset class takes out its previous couple of resistances, whether you're looking at it on a daily chart. So I think if the last couple of for example, Aurobindo Pharma, I think the last resistance was closer to 796. Where the stock made closer to mid of April, 13th of April is where the high, and today it's crossed that and it's now confirming a close above that particular level as well. So that confirms a swing high, again backed by good volumes as well as decent indicators.
Right. Same's true for Idea, Voltas as well. So you'd go long these names here. That's what you're saying, and the stop would be what? I mean, those very same levels, the previous swing highs, those would be the stops?
No, I'm not. No, Prashant, the idea is that, a lot of stocks, as I said, a lot of stocks are trading at, swing highs, Aurobindo Pharma, Tata Motors, etc. I think they are trading about the 200 moving averages as well. The fact that Nifty is probably struggling around its, crucial moving averages and not able to sustain that, I sense that it's just a marginal correction which you're seeing rather than a bigger panic, which is ensuing. I think it's just that the intraday volatility
Sure.
the index is sort of unnerving because it's difficult to really call a trend. But as I said, in terms of stock specific, there have been a lot of stocks. So I'm not giving a buy call as such on names like Idea, etc. But I think if anyone is holding longs, I think there is no really need to panic and probably exit your longs at these levels.
Would you want to do, so you're using these stocks as examples to say the market is not looking weak, it's still buoyant. Fair enough. So you'd wait for the confirmation in terms of a break of 7,700 to do something. But is there anything to do stock specific wise right away in terms of trades, long or short?
Yes, Prashant, I think Bharat Forge is one stock which is looking as a short candidate. It's forming a triangular pattern on the hourly charts. I think the range for Bharat Forge is closer to 840 and 790 approximately, where the stock has been on a triangular sort of pattern and it's breaking that. So I think if it breaks 790 tomorrow or say over the next couple of days, I think it could call for a decent short. I would look at least 760 as a target on Bharat Forge and a stop loss closer to 805.
Right. Kunal, what would be your view something on real estate? DLF has done well, India Bull Real Estate has done well. On charts, these names are looking good.
Yes, Pankaj, I think both these stocks are looking good. In fact, even HDI, which has been doing pretty well, over the last couple of weeks as well. I think it's fairly managing to hold its ground, even for India Bulls Real Estate. And even though the intensity of this rally has been very fierce, you can probably expect a marginal consolidation. I'm not expecting a major correction to happen because I think for India Bulls Real Estate, the only difference when you compare it with DLF or HDI is that it's been backed by very strong volumes. So I think the last 4 or 5 days of this price movement from 57 approximately to 69, it's been backed by volumes which are almost 5 times the monthly average or even the daily average. So I think that's going to be one very important candidate, which generally indicates that the stock may not correct significantly, but it may probably go for a time consolidation. So I would watch out for India Bulls Real Estate as one of the better stocks in both these parameters when I compare it with DLF or HDI.
Shahina, do you track Aurobindo?
Yeah, I do track Aurobindo, and I've got a positive view on the stock. As I mentioned it earlier, if you see in the last 1 year, they have been continuously getting small approvals, $150 million, $200 million type of approvals for the US market. And so this type of approvals is going to support a 20% plus type of growth for the next 2 years, which we have seen over and above a very huge delta of growth that we saw in the past 2 years. I think valuations also interesting, quite attractive.
What does it trade at? I mean, because large cap pharma itself is corrected.
I would say it is 15 times FY17 earnings, given the growth that I'm expecting.
Lupin, I think, now trades at what, 16 times or something?
17,
right?
18 times, yeah. But so I would say that at lower levels, Lupin at about 1,300, 1,400 became a very strong buy. But we saw that rally coming in for the 300 points. So maybe we can see a bit of consolidation correction before we see our next rally.
Kunal, your view on TVS after today's cut?
Yes, Pankaj, I think this seems to be a bit of a concern for TVS because I think it was trying to establish a weekly trend, and now with this correction of more than 10%, I think it could probably dent its weekly trend from medium term perspective. I believe at least a 250, 260 could be a possible target. So what we are advising our clients is to try and initiate shorts, or if not shorts, at least buy in terms of puts. And probably look out for 250, 260 range, because I think that is where the stock can find some decent support, at least in terms of weekly or monthly charts.
You think that majority of the losses or majority of the shorting activity would have been completed today itself? 12% move? I mean, at least the juice is behind?
It could be possible, but you have to look at it in terms of damage of the trend, and I think that's where the trend gets followed through, or sees more follow through, and this reaction of 11 or 12% down, it could probably have more legs of follow through, which is what I'm indicating. Is that if the stock breaks its 200 moving average, which is closer to 272 to 73 approximately on spot, it could see that follow through of reversals once again. So I think the ideal candidate, if anyone is looking to really take a view on TVS, I think it has to be a short view.
Right. Shahina, just a last word on the markets today. Do you feel that decline is a buying opportunity, or just wait for things to settle? It's still early days.
Well, I think declines would be a buying opportunity, but I think the trend, the way the market is closed today, could be slightly negative. So one would really wait for a couple of days before moving in a big way.
Right, Shahina, thank you so much for taking out time for us. Always a pleasure talking to you.